Alright, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah, Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala. So, what did we talk about?
Like, how to questions to atheists, how
Okay.
to respond to them.
Okay, what is atheism?
Atheism, I guess, is the belief that they don't believe in God. They don't believe in anything.
Yeah, they don't believe in God. And what is, maybe can you give me one example of an argument they say from memory?
They say, we all are atheists, but we just believe, we believe one less God.
One less God than everyone else,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And what is the response to that?
They give an analogy like, we all are vegans, we just eat one more.
Okay. I mean, you're kind of taking pieces of what I said, but okay. All right. Any other argument? One more, quickly.
And they have
I
other
like
arguments
all-
over here, but I can't look
All
at
right,
it.
go ahead. Read your notes, man.
Okay. Okay. If God exists, why do bad things happen?
Yeah. And what is the response to that?
And then, what's your definition of good and bad?
Okay, so I just talked about atheism. I talked about how they don't believe in God, and they have a bunch of arguments against religious people. And one of the arguments that you said is like they'll say that we're all atheists, right? Because everybody disbelieves in some God. You disbelieve in, let's say, Jesus Christ as God, and then Buddhists would believe that your God is not God, and then you believe Hindus' God is not God. So everyone is disbelieving, and we're just disbelieving in everything. So we're all atheists in that sense. But that's just a silly argument because you can make it for anything, right? You can say we're all vegans, right? It's just that vegans don't eat some more meat products than other people, right? You don't eat all the meat products ever. It's just you eat some, and vegans decide not to eat those either. So again, and you can use it for feminism. You can say, hey, we're all feminists. We all believe in women's rights. It's just that feminists believe in more than you, right? So it's a silly argument and doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless and doesn't matter because even if they don't believe in all these gods, it doesn't mean they're right, you know. So that's one. Other thing you said was, if God exists, why is there evil in the world, right? This is very popular. It's like, oh, God exists, why are these kids getting cancer? God exists, why is this plague happening? Why is COVID there, you know? So these are the kind of arguments they'll bring, and then it's like, well, you're an atheist. What is right and wrong, and what is good and evil anyway, right? If you're an atheist, you can't believe in any of that stuff because good is something we say is defined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and Sunnah. But for an atheist, what is good and what is evil, right? There is really no definition for that. So this is where they get stuck. And there, I give you some other arguments too. What else? So I talked about pluralism. What is pluralism? Quickly.
Believing in more than one religion.
Yeah. So some people believe that all religions lead to heaven, and this is wrong because.
Because the religions contradict each other.
Yeah, all the religions are contradicting one another, so they can't all be right, obviously. Right? I talked about paradigm.
What exists, what is morally right or wrong, and how do we get our knowledge?
Yeah, and I talked about modernism. What is that?
Knowledge, the ideal of knowledge, morality after the.
And what exists?
1600s.
And what exists according to Europeans after the 16th, 15th century, after the Renaissance. If you've heard of the Renaissance, I'm hoping. But so okay, I'll talk about paradigm again, and I'll just divide this into two, real quick. So paradigm goes in two parts. One is scientism. And the other one is progressivism, okay? If you're not taking notes, I highly suggest taking notes, but anyways. So scientism, I already talked about scientism. This is basically the belief that science always leads to truth, right? And Buddha might have it in his notes. Do you remember I talked about that? One of the things they say?
Yeah, it's over here.
Yeah.
Science says.
So science is the only thing.
Science is the only way to truth.
Only way to truth, right? And what is wrong with that?
It's self-contradictory because you can't prove that statement.
Yeah.
And it's
So that statement itself is not from science. So if science always leads to truth, that statement itself is not true. Right? It's very simple. And progressivism is the belief that we're getting morally better all the time, right? So I'm sure you've heard this statement all the time. It's like, it's the current year, it's 2021. How could you say something against homosexuals, for example, right? It's the current year. How could you say this, or how could you believe that? You know, how could you believe this thing from 1400 years ago? What is the assumption here? The assumption here is that whatever is old is bad, right? Whatever is old is bad, but whatever is new is better in terms of moral, in terms of knowledge, in terms of understanding. Everything is better. So that's the idea, that progressivism is the idea that newer morality and ideologies are better. And society in general is getting better, right? That's what it says. See, in terms of technology, in terms of everything, right? It's getting better, right? So is there anything wrong with this idea?
We came from the past. I mean, if it was wrong, then aren't we wrong? And in the future, couldn't we say the same thing, that the past was wrong?
Yeah, this is I kind of think it's a perpetual problem, because then we'll always have some problem. But they'll just say we're getting better. Yeah, we might be a little wrong, but the previous people are even more wrong, and then the people who come in the future, they'll be even better. So it just keeps on getting better. Don't worry, you know. But as a Muslim, do you see an issue? There's a major issue. As a Muslim, should just see it immediately.
I mean,
if you say the people in the past were bad and people are getting better, what are you saying? Exactly. You're saying the prophets are bad, the Sahaba are bad, the scholars are bad, everyone's bad, and now us Muslims.
Einstein's bad.
Yeah, I mean, he was bad, but that's irrelevant. So basically, that you're saying, and even going to a hadith about the end of times, what does it talk about? It says a lot of things are going to get very bad. People are going to get very immoral and corrupt. You know, if you ever heard the hadith about the Yawm al-Qiyamah, about the end of times, you'll see these sorts of predictions. So that tells us society is getting worse, right, from the narration of the Prophet. So there's a major contradiction there. But even to a non-Muslim, you can just say, like, if things are always getting better and things are always changing, they're always getting better, then why does this idea of progressivism stick? You know, why does this not change too, right? And then that means then this can change as well. This idea itself that things are always getting better can change also, and then that means that idea doesn't stand anymore, right? So it's a flimsy idea, right? Because if everything's always changing and getting better, then this idea itself could change and get better, right? So from Muslims, contradicts basic Islam. Right, so does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody else make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's not too complicated. You get it, Adyan?
Mm-hmm.
Understand? What did you understand?
I understand that progressivism, like it basically states that everything in the past, a lot of things in the past were just wrong.
Mm-hmm. So they'll say stuff like, let's say, for example, they'll say slavery, we used to have it was really bad, now we don't, see? So society got better.
We still do.
I mean, generally.
Well, in a way.
And not in that way, right?
In a different way. They
They
call it labor.
Yeah. But anyway, so they'll say, like, yeah, see, we don't have that, so that was really bad. We don't have it anymore. We didn't have that many women's rights before, now we have so many, see? So we're getting better. But that's the kind of evidence that we use. But of course, you can always point back and say, hey, what happened to, let's say, people's family structure? That got worse. A lot of people don't know who their dads are anymore. you can point out to say that there's so much more depressed kids. Before you would never find depressed kids,
Right.
maybe depressed adults,
Well, depression
but
generally-
but nowadays that's happening. So a lot of things in society are getting worse. But oh yeah, oh, sorry.
No, just commenting.
Oh, okay. What were you saying? Sorry.
Depression basically was non-existent back then.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because that has to do with, again, those people, even though a lot of them are Christians, but still they have some purpose in life. But but nowadays, they don't even have that anymore. So that's what kind of leads to sort of purposelessness and depression.
Like the divorce rate is going up.
Yeah, a lot. As I said, family structure is breaking apart. So a lot of things are getting worse. You can see it. But then, like I said, they'll just appeal to other things like technology. They'll appeal to things like slavery, like women's rights, all these things. Now, see, we got better. But the thing is, like, just because you got those things doesn't mean your life is necessarily better. If you look at some studies, you'll see that people are getting more depressed as time goes by, right? If they had more rights and slavery is gone and all these nice things are happening, then how come you're not getting happier, right? So anyways.
Like both depression, suicide rates are actually going up.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so I'm done with this. Got your notes? Everyone else should be taking notes too, man. You gonna memorize everything like Imam Bukhari? I'm gonna ask you with the Senate. Okay. Is everything looking okay on camera? For the, all right. So. Okay. So another thing I wanted to talk about, and this is going to take a while. I can't do it all today, and it's very, very complicated and deep and very annoying topic. It's a topic of feminism. Okay. Yeah. Your favorite topic. All right. So feminism. It's not good. Okay. So can anyone define feminism for me?
It does not have a definition, right?
It has a basic definition. No?
A generic one would be, advocate for a woman power.
Equality for women and
Woman power.
Yeah, it's
only
something
for
like that. Women empowerment, but like it's very general. Like I'll write it down. It's basically the equality between the genders, right? So having total equality. So total.
But today's feminism doesn't even mean that. It just means like having more power over men.
Actually, today we
Yeah,
don't
I
even have
mean,
any.
so they'll never say that, right? Even if they mean to do it.
There
They'll never
are
say that.
40 meetings of feminists.
This is the general
Yeah,
one.
this
This is the
is
one you'll
the-
find in like a dictionary or a Wikipedia or whatever. So total political, economic.
Wait, did you literally get that out of a dictionary?
What's that?
Did you literally get that definition out of a dictionary?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dictionary.com. I mean, the idea is still the same, right? Even if they want to do something else, this idea always stands. So basically, the idea is that men have been oppressing women for a really long time, right? For thousands of years, they have been oppressing women. Yeah, so they have been oppressing women for a long time. There's been something called a patriarchy, right? A patriarchy is, have you heard of patriarchy? You know what
Yeah, I
patriarchy
heard
is?
it, of course.
Yeah. So patriarchy is basically men being in power, right? Men taking charge. So patriarchy, I'll write that. Structure of, keep it simple. The leadership and power of men, right? Right. So this is basically the idea. So that this exists, the patriarchy exists. There's this leadership and power of men, and that goes against the interests of women, right? So whatever women want, men don't really care. They'll just do whatever the heck they want. They're selfish, whatever, and that's bad for women. And that's why we need to have equality, where we have just an equal amount of everything of both men and women, in terms of leaders, in terms of money, in terms of social, like husband and wife are equal to one another, for example, right? So these are all the things that feminism talks about. And feminism is, again, it is something like you pointed out, it's changing. It has a million definitions, it has a million ideas. But I'll just keep it simple. I'll just say that there's a few waves of feminism. I'll write them down too. It's the first wave, right? So first wave cares about women voting. Okay? So this is the first wave. This existed in the 1800s, maybe up till the early 1900s, and they just cared about women. The first wave of feminism. They just cared about women being able to vote, right? So men are able to vote for the president or whatever. Women should be able to do it too, right? So that was the idea. The second wave then came along, and they wanted more equality, where this became more relevant, where you want total equality, not just some equality in voting, but you want equality in everything. Equality in everything. So in job opportunities, in politics, in being husband and wife, and being in relationships, stuff like that, right? So that's the second wave. And the third wave is the crazy wave, and they don't believe.
Fourth wave, all men at church.
They don't believe in traditional genders. So they don't believe there's just men and women. There's a lot more genders. So this is where, and all these are equal, right? So this is the idea of third wave feminism, and the fourth and the fifth. Now there's fourth and fifth. They're basically just third wave with some makeup on, basically. Okay. So but the idea with the third wave is that it's not just because they would say second wave was about these white women, and then the third wave, this is about all women of all colors, of all backgrounds, and even if they're trans women or whatever, right? Doesn't matter. They're all women. You have to accept them all, and they're all should be equal. So this is the first, second, and third wave, and then the fourth and fifth wave are just they're just basically different versions of the third wave. Okay. So okay, I just pointed out what they believe. Okay. So do you see problems with their belief, or is it all fine and dandy? We should all become feminists.
I don't see a
It's
problem.
2021.
I don't see a problem with the first wave.
Right. So the problem
There isn't
with
anything with the first wave.
yeah. So the problem with this one is I don't really care. Like as Muslims, the thing is we don't really care about this that much because.
We don't care about women.
Okay, that's
Not
really
true.
wrong.
That's not true. Okay.
That sounds extremely wrong.
Okay, calm down. Okay, so we don't care about this that much because voting in general is not an Islamic system inherently, right? So from an Islamic perspective, there shouldn't be this sort of voting where a leader is just chosen by the people anyway, right? It should be a shura council where like wise people sit together, like elders, they sit together and they choose a leader. Not just anybody who doesn't know anything about politics, doesn't know anything about economy, doesn't know anything about anything, but they go and choose a leader, which is the democracy system, right? So that's why this doesn't matter. Like, yeah.
Well, wait.
Basically, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, wait. Didn't that exist early on in like the Islam thing?
Like in Islamic
Yeah,
world?
yeah.
So Islamic world, like I said, they had shura. Shura is different from voting and democracy, right? Democracy is more like everybody gets to say, right? Shura is a few people get to say. Those few people are, let's say, elders, religious elders of the community or something like that. Let's say, for example, from San Diego, so a few imams are chosen from the masjids, and then from LA, a few imams are chosen from the masjids, and then they all come together and they're like, okay, who should be the president now, right? So that's what a shura council is.
Essentially, people who are qualified.
More qualified. So when voting is for everyone.
Aside from like populism and like
Yeah, exactly. So this is what happens, right? So
But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with. Is there anything inherently wrong
Yeah,
with
there
democracy?
is.
with what?
Inherently wrong with democracy, like
Yeah, so this is democracy, right? Everybody gets to vote. Democracy is ruled by the people. It's not ruled by a few people. It's not ruled by a few qualified people. It's a rule by everyone, and that's the kind of the issue with democracy. But anyways, we can talk about democracy some other day, or you can talk to me after class. I don't mind. But that's not the point of this class right now, right? So basically, 2 minutes, okay. And then the second wave is where it became more of this definition where in everything they have to be equal, right? So do you see an issue with that in terms of
Yeah,
Islam?
they can't be equal
Yeah,
in everything.
yeah,
they're
yeah,
good at
obviously.
different things, and we're good at different things.
Like
We can't-
obviously we're against
we're
oppression,
equal in
but,
different
like,
ways.
not
but
like,
we
but
can't
like,
be equal always in the same thing.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has defined gender roles in the Quran.
Go tell
And-
that to your mom.
Wait, bro, dude, I have 2 minutes left, please. Wait. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has defined gender roles in the Quran, and of course there's several in the Hadith as well, right? And it talks about men being the household leaders, for example. It talks about, let's say, so that would be, let's say, social equality. That's broken. And then in political equality, there's a hadith about women not being leaders. They shouldn't be leaders in leading positions. That breaks the political equality. And economic, even the Quran says, when let's say a father dies, then the sons get more than the daughters, right? This is in the Quran as well. So that breaks economic equality. So in everything, Islam is coming and breaking basically all the aspects of feminism, right? And this is why people who call themselves Muslim feminists are like in a cognitive dissonance.
Dumb.
Yeah, I don't want to say that, but basically they don't know what they're doing. I guess some of them are misguided. They want good, It's not like they're all evil or something, but they don't have no idea what they're really believing, right? So that's the thing. The third wave, there are no genders, and again, this is.
that's incredible.
That's just crazy, right? That's like, again, do I really need to put a refutation for that? Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He made 2 genders. He made the male and He made the female, right? So this again, this is very, very contradictory to what Islam has to say. And I will talk more about this, inshallah, next week. And I want to talk about Muslim feminists too and what they believe. And they have slightly different beliefs, as all feminists do. Right? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.